We have this absurd idea that it should be super important for you to take care of yourself, that it should be super important for you to financially carry yourself. About universal basic income. And at first I thought, what? You're gonna give people free money? Oh, stupid, dude. You can't do that. And then the more I thought about it, the more I said, well, what if all your needs were taken care of, like food, shelter? Like you have basic stuff. You're not going to get rich, but you have enough to eat, and you always have a roof over your head.
Right.
Which is, first of all, wouldn't we like each other more if that was the case? If we didn't have to worry, if nobody had to worry about how much money they had, nobody had to worry about not being able to eat, nobody worried about not having a place to sleep. They might be able to give every person $12,000 a year, something like that.
Right.
And I think if we could figure out some sort of a way to do things like that, I think we would have a giant alleviation of tension and struggle at its like base level, like to elevate us as a people just above the survival thing.
Right.
So then we can relax more and get better at all this other shit. But we got to get past the survival thing, and the base of the survival is what? Basic food, basic shelter. Having a roof over your head and having food. If you could just guarantee that, if we could all collectively say, let's pile all this fucking money together. Let's figure out how we can make this better. What's number one? We gotta figure out a way to make it easier to figure out what the fuck you want to do with your life. You shouldn't have to just dive into some job and be desperate. I mean, we were talking today, Jamie, about people that we know, that you know, that maybe wanted to do something else, but they played it safe, and now they're kind of stuck in this weird place where they can't get out of playing it safe because they have bills, and they get trapped. I feel like if we had some sort of like universal basic income, it's totally possible that way less people would do that, and then more people would try to make independent films, or more people would try to become stand-up comics, or more people would try to write books, or more people would try to build cars. Or I really feel like it's possible that we're doing it wrong. I just think collectively, and then I've said this before, so if you heard me say it before, anybody listening, I apologize. But I always say that if we looked at ourselves as an organism, right? If we looked at society as an organism, what would we want to fix as the organism? Would we want to make the muscle stronger, or would we want to kill the cancer? Would we want to figure out what's wrong with it? Would we want to cure the disease? Well, the disease has got to be poverty. Like, it's the number one problem that we have is crime and poverty. Like, we've got to focus on that area of our world. And instead of thinking of it as, oh, they should pull themselves up by their bootstraps, or, oh, they need, realize there's opportunity out there. You just got to go get it. Everybody's got their own path. I think collectively, as just a human species, we have to look at the world's problems, like the world's like real deep poverty and social problems, and look at it almost like as if we are a living creature. If we're a living creature and there's parts of us that are starving to death, you got to get that part food, right? I mean, that's universal. That's why those commercials with Sally Struthers were so compelling, right? Because you would see those babies that didn't have any food.
Somebody who's hungry, and I've got so much.
You're like, holy shit. These are... I feel like we only have a certain amount of time, just as an organism that has a finite lifespan. You have like 100 years if you're lucky, and this thing that we're doing now where we have a president, and you have to fucking go out there and earn your keep, boy, and you get a job, and well, looks like you're gonna have to get married now. You're a dad. Oh, okay. And then you're like, all of a sudden I'm dying.
Right.
Like I was living, I worked in a factory, now I'm dying.
Right.
I don't know if that's the right way to make the most productive society, or the most enjoyable experience for the people that are living in the society.
It feels like so much toil. And as you said, there's so much, you could do anything here, but you got to do it. And we spend so much time chasing something that makes life easier. I'm not going to argue that. Money makes things easier to do. But chasing... as a person, something that doesn't have to stop just because now you've entered the workplace, now you're married, and now you're falling into place with the model for society. Like, there's still a space in there for, And I think maybe this is where I'm coming around to your free $12,000 a year.
It's not my idea by any stretch of the
The
imagination.
idea of free $12,000 a year, because maybe it does leave a little breathing space where suddenly in that space somebody's like, oh, I want to do this, and this would make me happy. And when I'm happy at this, it'll trickle down at work. Like so many people are like, I go from one job to this job, and you know, and then I get the weekends maybe, and my weekends are Tuesday and Thursday or something like that. So yeah, you're right. I was thinking like, I got privileges and fucking breaks that a lot of people wouldn't get. And I came from like poor white people, but it didn't matter. It was white people, and so there are breaks for me out there somewhere in the world. And I always think through that prism. But you're right, man. There are a lot of people out there that would benefit from like, here's a cushion. Here's something to start with. Where you go from there, and what is that for? It's $1,000 a month just for being an American.
Yeah, I mean, instead of like thinking, oh, you know, everybody's scamming to try to get welfare money, how about just give it to them?
Yeah.
How just give them enough to survive. Just give everybody enough to survive, and then let's work this shit out. And then when you make more than X amount a year, you can, you know, if you're like Kevin Smith or me, you know, you would say, look, I don't want my 12 grand. Put it back into the system.
Exactly.
Pay all your taxes, all that stuff. But this would make us feel like we're looking out for each other a little bit. I mean, it's not. I'm not fully formed on this idea. It's just something I'm battering around in my head. But I'm battering it around in my head the same way I'm battering around this idea that there shouldn't really be a president. Like this, it's only there because we've been doing it this way for 300 years. But if it didn't exist, there's no way that's how you would run it. There's no way we would all agree. Well, what we should do is we should get one person who knows the most people with the most money, who have been doing this the longest, and that person will have a giant advantage over everybody else, and get that person backed up by these huge corporations that would benefit by this person being in office, because you would make laws and make environmental rules a little bit lax so we can get away with some shit, and we can make more money. There's no way we would say, yeah, let's do it that way. And we want to form our own opinions, and we should all be voting collectively as a group. There shouldn't be some representative government, some electoral college,